I just wanted to address some things I've seen in some of the comments, and I'm not going to deny that there's truth in what people are saying. Yes, I screwed up. I did things I shouldn't have done. I became complacent. I got into the mindset that my mom was just gonna, she was gonna be around for a lot longer. I may have mentioned some of these things in other videos I've made. I don't remember. I had grandmothers, both of my grandmothers on my great grandmothers on my grandmother's side, both lived into their 90s. So, and my mom was always real tough. It didn't seem like anything could keep her down that long. So I felt like I had a lot more time. Obviously, I was fucking wrong. But just to address kind of the timeline here. So I probably have talked about it before. My mom and I were both working for the same place, a restaurant called Jimmy's Diner, owned by originally the King family. She was the manager. I had taken a position there as a prep cook. I had been working for a couple of years, about 2.5 years, at a different location, same chain that had already gotten sold because the Kings were retired. So I was able to take the prep cook position because I would be able to make more money and work fewer hours because I had started having trouble with acid reflux real bad. Didn't know what it was at the time. I was having some health issues and wanted to work a lighter schedule. And the prep cook position paid enough that I could work fewer hours and make as much or more as I had before. And then I got into that position and it became a whole thing with basically the line cooks taking advantage of me being there and getting me to do a bunch of their work for them. But I still did it. So you want to act like I'm entitled or something? One person said, when the job needed to be done, I did the damn work even when it really shouldn't have been my work to do. But then my mom got a bleeding ulcer and almost died. Had to spend some time in the hospital and then recover at home. And just before she was supposed to go back to work, the new guy that had taken over fired her. Threw 8 weeks of severance pay at her to get her to keep shut because technically he fired her when she was still under doctor's care and she could have sued him. But he sprung this on her and got her to sign a thing that basically was, you can't sue me, and the severance pay. And then 8 weeks later, the last day of the severance pay, I was fired. This was, I think, in 2008, somewhere in there. It's been a while. And we were still being hit bad by the effects of the recession. We both looked for work for a long time. We got unemployment and were looking for work the entire time, but nobody would hire us. Either one of us. Just nobody. So we ended up getting evicted and had to move in with my mom's friend, who had developed a drug problem we didn't know about. That turned into a whole thing. And I continued trying to find work, but there weren't a whole lot of options in the area we were living in at the time. And then in the winter, it was icy, I think, my mom fell and broke her knee real bad. And required surgery and a whole bunch of recovery time. And I was trying to make stuff work online, and it was one of those things where it seemed like I would start to get something to work, and then it would just stop dead, and nothing I would do could seem to bring it back. So I would try something else. And did I probably fall into the trap of the grass is greener at times? Yes. But it's not like I was just sitting on my ass not doing anything. I was trying to make something happen. It just never seems to work out for me. So my mom finally gets out of the care facility for rehab she was in and still has to have a lot of rehab and can't really walk very well. Actually, when she first got released, she needed help up and, for practically everything. Had to be bringing her up and down stairs and it was a whole ordeal. So that's when I really kind of locked into, I'm just going to have to take care of my mom. I can't, I can do online stuff in my free time, but I'm going to have to take care of her because she can't even walk right now. So I was doing that. And that persisted for a while. She was in a wheelchair for a while and finally got into to using a walker, and then she broke her leg again, or the hardware they put in gave out, something happened and it was broke again. She had to have another surgery and more recovery time. And then that didn't quite work, so they had to do a third surgery, which meant more recovery time. We finally got moved out from the friend, which was another whole thing that we went through, and got into an apartment, same complex, different apartment. We ended up moving halfway through the time we've been living here. But, because they were remodeling and stuff, but that's not a big deal. Well, there were some things that happened with me in there that are relevant. I don't particularly like talking about. I had a mild heart attack, actually, because I got incredibly depressed over something and basically ate nothing but junk food and drank nothing but pop and screwed my body up. Which is kind of one of the reasons why I was worried about walking to McDonald's. Especially when it was only like 20-some degrees outside. Which, that causes blood vessels to restrict and can cause things to happen that you don't want to happen. It'd be kind of scary. But anyway, we got over here, and at that point I was still relatively healthy, and I could have and should have started looking for work at that time because there were options around. Yes, that was one of my biggest mistakes, was not ever looking for work when I was here, especially earlier on when my mom was still fairly healthy. But her health continued to decline, and yes, I could see it coming. I should have saved money. We should have saved money. Coulda, woulda, shoulda done a lot of things. Didn't. So worrying about what I coulda, shoulda, woulda done now is a waste of time. It's not, if I could kick myself in the ass any harder, I'd be in the ceiling. But, she had health trouble. She needed help for certain things, and I was worried about looking for work. That's part of the reason. It's not like I just sat on my ass not doing anything again. I was worried that if I wasn't there, something would happen to her, I wouldn't be there, and she would need help, and I wouldn't be there. And is that partially an excuse, maybe, to just not, face rejection and potential failure and all the things that come with looking for a job? Yeah, probably. I've always been a defeatist, unfortunately. It got into my head at some point when I was young, and it's just always been there. Just that little asshole in your ear telling you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. So, yeah, shit happens, and things often go bad, so, I mean, even with my uncle helping me out with another month of rent, and I've been putting in applications, I've been doing applications for online work, and there's places that are closer that I'm not afraid, I don't think I'm going to have another heart attack. The one I did have was very minor. No damage. No, as far as I know, there was no lasting impact. Other than to paranoia, which really messes with your head. Anxiety about it. And, of course, I managed to get into better shape and then got really depressed again. The first one, my mom was in the hospital a few years ago, and I got super depressed then and got way out of shape again and lost all the things that I had gotten, that I had done to improve my health. So, I guess it's just there's always that nagging fear that it's going to happen again. So that makes it kind of hard to force yourself into activities that could cause something to happen. But like I said, there are a few places close by that I'm not afraid of getting there, and once I'm there working, I don't think that it would uh, tax me to the point of like an almost 2 mile walk, which was on top of walking out two other times that day. And I'm pretty sure I was dehydrated and I haven't been eating very much. So I'm probably going through low blood sugar issues. So, it was a whole bunch of things just piling on at once with the McDonald's interview situation. And because of the length of the walk and the probability of weather getting really shitty, which it now has after like 3 days of, we had like 3 days of 70-degree plus weather, record highs 2 or 3 days in a row, and then just that day 20s, just nosedive. So maybe it wasn't the physical impact as much as the psychological impact of being afraid that I might trigger another heart attack or some sort of something with trying to walk that far, especially in that cold of a weather. And then the expectation on top of that that all types of weather I would have to try to make that walk. So did I just kind of give up a little bit on the McDonald's thing? Yeah, but I think I did it because, for realistic reasons, not just because I'm entitled or a quitter or something. Maybe I am. I don't know. Um, I'm sorry. I know I'm coming off kind of pissed off, and the guy that left that comment, not all everything you said was out of line. Some of it is definitely true, but I don't think that it's entitlement. I looked for work after we got fired, and I would have done those jobs just fine with loyalty and putting myself into it as best I could. And if I felt like I had a chance of getting hired by anybody and it wouldn't have put my mom at risk, I would have gone for it. My biggest regrets right now, again, are not saving money, and especially when it comes to things like YouTube, that, if I had applied myself better, I could have a channel that at least potentially could be paying bills right now. Because it's not like I don't have things that I could make videos about. I'm making lots of videos. It's just, you have to have time and consistency, and right now I have no time. So I am hoping, not confident, but hoping that I can get a job either with one of the online companies that I've applied to, or one of the places that's close by, that hopefully the work wouldn't fuck my body up. But all I can do is keep fighting. And if I end up on the streets, I'll probably be dead in a fairly short amount of time because of my physical limitations. I thought I was in relatively decent shape and I was doing okay, but then that walk knocked it out of me, so I don't know what I'm going to do.